Thank you and welcome to joining us for our Nurse and Health Coordinators meeting that was held on January 7th, 2026. This is the third one for the 2025-2026 school year. My name is Benita Gonzalez. I'm the Director of Student Support Services for the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston Catholic Schools Office and the Director of Support for Nurses and Counselors. Let us begin. First and foremost, I wanted to thank our Nurse Leadership Committee, which is Katie Haynes, Michelle Whitney, Amanda McKay, Kathy Moniachi, and Leslie Pavlock. We met in December to review a lot of the health Senate bills that we were reviewing for policy and procedure for 2026-2027. As we reviewed these in December, we reviewed a lot of the feedback from nurses from October and November, and we compiled this information and created a document for legal to review. It does take some time for legal to review a lot of these policies, so we made sure that they were put together so they can start reviewing them. It is January 2026, so our hopes is that legal will come back sometime in April or May with these policies. Some things that the nurse leadership provided for updates. Again, these updates were sent to legal for review. These are not the policies. These are not the procedures. These are just things to take into consideration within our thoughts and procedures for moving forward for 2026-2027. Once legal reviews it, they will give us feedback and information to see what we can and can't add to specific procedures and protocols. The first one that we sent over was for medication for respiratory distress maintenance and administration. This is going to be under Senate Bill 294 and Senate Bill 1335. This is going to be more for your inhalers. So for having a stock inhaler on your campus or stock respiratory distress medication on your campus. One thing we did know that we did not submit to legal is that parochial schools will not stock this medication for respiratory distress on campus. Again, this is only parochial. Independent schools, if you are independent school, if this is something that you want to stock and you are a nurse on campus, please be sure you review Senate Bill 294 and 1325 as well as the TCCBED Health Manual on requirements for these procedures to stock this medication. And again, independent schools take this information to your school board so then you can create a good, wonderful, robust policy for your school. But for 2026-2027, parochial schools will not stock this medication moving forward. We will reassess this again in each school year, so if anything changes for 2027-2028, we'll let the school nurses and health coordinators know. Next is pediculosis, again known as head lice. What we sent and submitted to legal for review is to have a lice and nit-free policy. And only spot checking students in close vicinity and siblings. That way there's not like this whole classroom check in motion. So this was reviewed by our superintendent and also our nurse leaders and our nurses and health coordinators, and looks like there is a consensus of lice and nit-free policy for our archdiocese. So we sent that for legal to review. Other policy to review was the stock epinephrine delivery systems maintenance and administration. And again, it changed to epinephrine delivery systems because epinephrine is now available in an injector format and in a nasal spray format. So because of these different forms, that's why they changed it to epinephrine delivery systems. So this is to stock epinephrine on your campuses. So this would be Senate Bill 1619, and what we submitted to legal for review is for parochial schools may stock medication for epinephrine. And really and truly, this is all schools, but again, we don't want to speak for independent schools, but definitely parochial schools may stock medication for epinephrine. So that is something that we sent for legal to review that component, that piece. And we wrote the word may because we do have some schools that do not want to stock this epinephrine because for whatever reasons that they have submitted. And so because of that, we just want to make sure that we are respectful on the school needs that are across the board And we want to provide that flexibility for our schools as well. If you're an independent school, some independent schools have already started as of the start of this Senate bill back in, I believe it was 2018 or 2019, started stocking epinephrine, and they're following the procedures and processes that were written out by TCCBED. So you are welcome to continue that process and continue the epinephrine delivery systems. If you're wanting to see what we write out for our parochial schools, you're welcome to read those as well and make those decisions as well for your school needs. Again, that's going to be for independent schools. Next is going to be medication administration in school. One thing we submitted for legal for review is parent permission on FDA approved over-the-counter medication without physician consent. Again, with those FDA approved over-the-counter medications, making sure that they also follow safe environment protocols, because again, safe environment processes and procedures trump a lot of these pieces. So when I say safe environment, is those FDA approved over-the-counter medications, like things that are applied rectally, vaginally, or something that's applied all over the skin or all over the body, making sure that we keep our nurses and our health coordinators safe and all our faculty safe when requiring specific over-the-counter medication not to be permitted or applied with on campus, and making sure that that's applied either at home or parents applying such type of medication and supporting their child with that. But that is something that we sent over for that over-the-counter medication. Another piece that we sent over with medication administration is a stock of over-the-counter for pain relief. And again, that is a May stock medication, because I know some some schools do not feel comfortable stocking over-the-counter medication for any kind of relief, because they do not have the licensure or the background knowledge to see what counteracts, which over-the-counter counteracts with others. And because of those different chemical compounds, I know some health coordinators who do not have that licensing to make those determinations or even that triage. So again, just sent it to legal for review so they can provide their feedback, and hoping that we can create a good, wonderful, comprehensive, robust policy for all 4 of these that are listed. Some of you have contacted me that there have been some updates through the CDC and HHS vaccine update schedule. So it was more on the vaccine schedule in itself. So they did put some that were recommended for all children and some for high-risk groups. They did share their decision making within all of this. So as of now, January 2026, there are no changes with our 2025-2026 Texas Health Department requirements for vaccines. That still stands. If for some apparent reason something happens and there is a quick change to any kind of vaccinations, especially for those new students or those students who are coming up to a specific scheduled vaccination, we will give you guys, of course, time. We'll give you parent letters. We'll give you all the necessary information to provide to your families and to your communities, so everyone's on the same page. It won't be a one to the next 24-hour turnaround. So we want to allow some time and some grace for all of this. But if there's any changes, I'll let you know. But for now, there are no changes. We do receive usually in March or in April the upcoming school year Texas requirements. And since HHS and CDC left it to the states to make these determinations and requirements on vaccine schedules, we're just waiting for Texas to see what they do. So for now, just hold tight. From what I understand and from what I see currently, because HHS has posted their vaccine schedule, CDC, I believe since last I saw it in January 5th, 2026, they were still updating it. But from what I see, Hep A, Hep B, and in the meningococcal are the 3 vaccines that currently are required under the Texas school requirement vaccine schedule that I see might be affected. All the others that are listed on there for recommendations, the RSV, for rotavirus, so forth, those are not required on the Texas school requirement vaccine schedule. So those are not really ones that we see anyways. Those are more for your pediatricians, your clinics, your facilities, and so forth. So again, if I see any updates, we'll make sure we'll let you know and keep you up to date. If you hear anything, please let us know. We're happy to see what other information might be posted out there in the news and also any kind of newsletters. As you are right now, January is a new student admissions and readmissions for your current students, making sure that you remember our conversations back from November. And I also sent an email to all the schools for your health coordinator and the nurses and also principals to get with your admissions director, or if you don't have an admissions director, whoever handles admissions applications, that first application that parents see, making sure that you have added the immunization policy. That way parents are aware up front what the immunization policy is. If you are using our student information system fax, contact our office if you need help and support on how to do that. You also have a fax representative that will be able to help you with applications and what to add to that. So happy to help with that, but please be sure you add that. Some schools were adding it to the registration, which is the second or third step into your application process, but really and truly I would definitely add it to the very beginning, especially since parents are paying application fees and so forth and going through the whole process. Some of them have to also do assessments and so forth. If they know the policy up front, they can make those determinations and make those decisions for their family. Next, making sure that you have some questions. We did share some questions through the principal newsletter, which is from the CSO, that's posted to your principal monthly, or usually it's actually bi-weekly. And I also gave it to the nurses and health coordinators to review with your admissions directors back in the fall of 2025. And again, the questions you can ask if parents want to disclose any medical conditions or any medications that the student is currently taking. A parent does not have to disclose this. Please note that we are only asking them in the case that if we as nurses or as health coordinators are wanting to support their child medically, it's always good to know if there's anything that's concerning, anything that that they might want to disclose that might be hurting the student, whether it's through medication or a specific condition, to disclose that. But again, parents don't have to disclose that piece. It would be beneficial though. A reminder to remove your TB from your admissions applications. If your applications already went out and your TB questionnaire is still there, not to worry. Just check with your admissions person to see if that can be removed. If not, it's going to be okay. You just don't have to monitor or oversee that any longer. Be sure your school has an applicant to enrollment process. So in other words, once they apply, before you put these students on your roster and have them fully enrolled, especially in fax, you have us in your student information system, before you transfer them from applicant to enrolled rostered student, make sure that you oversee, especially if you're the nurse overseeing that immunization side or that medical documentation side, that child is not fully enrolled in your system until you have all that. What we've been seeing is students are going from application to enrolled, and then you're chasing down a family for vaccine records, updates. Families are trying to get things to you, and then it's past the first day of school, and now we're in October, and they still haven't provided you documents. So please be sure to check with your admissions personnel, whoever handles those, that before the child goes from applicant to fully enrolled on the roster student, that everything is checked off. This also includes transcript recommendations and so forth. So, because sometimes we have students who have behavioral issues, and when I ask about, oh, what did the teacher recommendation say? What did the transcripts say? And they're like, oh, we don't have those just yet. The parent hasn't provided that to us yet. Ooh, that kind of becomes an issue. So making sure, again, applications have all documents and checked off before you moved on to the next step. For immunization records, some have asked, what is a valid immunization record? So you have 3 ways to obtain a valid immunization record. That would be a state immunization card. So Texas has a health department state immunization card. It's blue and white, but sometimes you'll receive a copy, so it's black and white. But if you have it in your hand, it would be a blue and white card, making sure the student's full name is at the top, plus their date of birth. Also, that the vaccines are either stamped or initialed by the clinic. Most clinics like to stamp them, so make sure they're stamped. If you have any immunization records that are out of the country, that are not by the state, for other states here in the United States, and they're out of the country, make sure that parent takes that immunization card to go get validated, because many countries have immunizations that do not match up to the current immunization guidelines for the United States. So, for example, the milligrams might be off, or whatever is in a specific vaccine in one country may not constitute equivalent to one here in the United States. So make sure out of the country vaccine records get validated, okay? And that pediatrician should probably put them in the next place, which would be some kind of electronic health record or an immunization information system, which is MTRAC. So a parent can provide you an electronic health record. That might be your MyChart. That's fine. Previously, we didn't accept MyChart because we needed a stamp or we needed a signature. You can accept electronic health records. However, it needs to have the provider's name and contact information on there. It can't just say Texas Children 281, whatever. It has to say Texas Children Dr. So-and-so. Because if you ever call Texas Children's, you will know that they have hundreds of providers. And so we want to make sure the clinic information and the provider's name is on there. They can stamp it if they'd like. Some of them will stamp their provider information instead of it being on there. So it might say Texas Children and then they stamp their provider's name. That's fine too. Make sure that the vaccine information, date and vaccine name are on there. We did have one situation where for some reason the physician wrote the vaccine and the date handwritten on a MyChart. That really won't constitute or go. They just needed to take that extra step in putting it into the MyChart. So making sure you receive an updated record on that. An immunization, if you receive an MTRAC immunization record from MTRAC, make sure that the physician either signed it or stamped it. It does state the issuer's client ID at the very bottom or on the back, depending on how many vaccines are on there. Make sure they either signed it or stamped it to validate it. If you as a nurse are printing the MTRAC record, make sure that you sign it before putting it into the student file. A reminder that if you receive an immunization medical exemption, either by affidavit or by a conscientious exemption or by a physician letter or by a third-party vendor providing a physician letter, that you provide them this immunization medical exemption form. Let them know, thank you so much for this letter, appreciate it. However, here's the immunization medical exemption form that we have. This, I promise you, will help with so much heartache because sometimes the physicians will write things on those letters that they're trying to not put their license on the line in so many ways. And sometimes third-party providers, there are third-party providers out there, like for example, a Frontline, that put more legal components into it that you don't realize that you're binding yourself by those. So removing all of those pieces, if you just give them this immunization medical exemption form, let them know to have their physician sign it, and then that way we can just have this one specific form. Once you receive it, verify it at the bottom, and then you're done. Provide me a copy of it so I can file it into our systems and make sure that we have a copy of it so we can make sure all of these things are filled out correctly. Physicians, some of the physicians will supervise nurse practitioners. However, nurse practitioners should not be signing these medical exemption forms. I absolutely love NPs. I absolutely love RNs who support clinics and support facilities. However, we need the physician's signature and the physician's name and their license number. Most physicians, some physicians need to know what they're signing, especially where they're putting their medical license on. And so they're needing to know if they're supervising this NP that they are overseeing this medical exemption. So you might all have endured the super flu season. We've always had flu season, but for some reason we've got the super flu. And I put it in in quotes because that's what they're calling it out there in the news. A lot of you have seen the flu come through as early as October. Some of you were hit really hard in November and December. There is no set number of students until school closes. So just FYI that there is not this set number. I've got 50 kids out and we must close school. It doesn't work that way. The way it works in the area of flu or when levels of absences and everybody's out due to a specific symptom, whatever that symptom may be, is do you have enough teachers or instructional staff to support your school or that specific grade, or do you not? If you don't have that level of specific number of staff, what I highly, highly recommend, and we've sent this out to principals as well, is if you're a parochial school, speak to your pastor. Let them know, hey, I have no teachers. I've got 5 teachers in this class and I can't find any subs. Flu is going crazy. Everybody's dropping like flies. So have that conversation with your pastor and then contact the Catholic Schools office before you close off your school. Superintendent is the one who should be making those final calls with you and letting you know what you need in regards to closing that specific grade or that specific school because of this specific either flu, cold, or whatever's going on your school. Again, if you're an independent school, I'd love to hear from Catholic Schools, contact the Catholic Schools office so we can know those closures as well. Currently in the nurse webpage, there is a contact list for the Star, Rose, Cross, and high school cohorts. So check it out, look for your picture, see if you still like your picture. If you want to change it, send me a new picture. Welcome to do that. If your credentials have changed, if you're now a RN, LVN, if you're a nurse practitioner, if you're now a doctor, whatever the case may be, or if your email has changed or anything has changed, let me know. Happy to change that for you. Or visit it so you can see your other sisters and brothers in Christ who are working within your cohort. If you want to contact them, maybe you don't know the surrounding neighboring school and you find out who the nurse is and you want to contact them, and maybe that can become your collaborative partner and someone that you can speak to. So utilize a contact list for your own supports. A reminder that if you have any upcoming field trips, make sure as a health coordinator or as the nurse that you meet with the parents or you're part of those parent meetings, and let them know that if they can, to provide you travel-sized medication, because some of these are just overnighters, some of these are a week, and I get it, sometimes you need more medication for a week. But if it's just an overnight or 1 or 2 nights, these wonderful companies are started making travel-sized medication. Medication still is requiring a physician's signature when you have field trips, but just checking in, helping out the parents, letting them know that, hey, I don't need the Costco bottle of Tylenol. I don't need the huge liquid formula of this. If you can just find me a travel size. But again, there might be some medications that don't have a travel size, which is fine. But just letting parents and reiterating to them, just so they can travel a little bit easier. For those who have trips out of the country, 2 huge pieces, making sure you check with the consulate for any updated guidelines and checking in with that country on any policies and new laws. There are medications that are FDA approved here in the States, but unfortunately are against the law in specific countries. They change these policies so many times. So please be sure, even though you took the trip last year or 2 months before or a month before, keep checking within their consulate and policies to make sure that these medications that you're bringing in, even if they're over-the-counter medications, that they're acceptable within this country. I don't want you to get caught in customs for bringing in medication that was not acceptable and you didn't check in with their policies and laws or check in with the consulate for updated guidelines. Also, if you have a student who or a teacher, an individual who is bringing over medication, prescribed medication, making sure that you follow those policies and laws on that prescribed medication. Okay. It is January, so if you are on I Am Online under your child health reporting system, you last reported your immunization in December. Now your portal will be opening up in January of 2026 on your screenings. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's January 12th or something to that nature, but once it opens, you are welcome to submit your vision, hearing, and spinal on your screening state report that is going to be for K through 12 for vision and hearing, and then spinal again is going to be more for your elementary middle grades for that reporting. But all of those are reported. These are all due on May 1st, 2025. I know it says on there June, but please note this is also a public school reporting for their accreditors as well. So note that a lot of our public schools close at the end of June due to summer school. Many of our schools are no longer in session as of end of May. So that's why I try to close it on May 1st. On my end, on my IM Online CHRS reporting portal as an administrator, I have all the schools that are accredited under the Archdiocese. And so what I do is once you submit that information to me, I just check it off. So that's all I'm asking, is that you submit it to me so I can check it off, so I can visually see with my eyes that you've submitted it, and I can check it off. So that way when it comes May 1st and I have everybody's reports, I hit this big submit button for the entire Archdiocese and it goes off to state reporting La La Land, letting them know that we are all done with all our reporting. So you can get that to me as soon as the portal opens and you submit, or you can wait until May 1st if you want to, but please, please, please submit that to me before that. If you're wanting to know what the screening state report looks like, this is what the vision, hearing, and spinal look like. I don't need, when you have the screening, I don't need all 3 or 4 pages. I only need the first page, but if you want to send it out to me, that's fine as well, because I know when you hit PDF and save, it saves it all. That's fine. Again, I really just need a visual so I can make sure that you've submitted it all. This does not have student names. This has grade levels. So just FYI, when you're submitting this to me, that's all the information I see on my end anyways. Okay? AN screening reporting, this is not for high schools. This is going to be for your elementary middle school. That's going to be through UTRGV, not through CHRS. So if you don't have a login just yet for your AN screening reporting, contact Robert Puentes and he'll help you out with the login. I only need the first page, and it looks exactly like the bottom right hand corner. That's the only page I need. It has your school name and the number of reportings. I don't need it by grade level. I don't need it by age. I just need this right here on the bottom right hand corner. So just submit that to me. And again, their portal is very similar to the one from the state. I have mostly our elementary and middle schools that we have underneath that, and I just check them off. If you're up for your screening recertification, or if you need to be certified to be a screener, make sure you contact for Vision, Hearing, and Spinal Yerin Salceda. There's her phone number and her email. If you need to log in and receive a screening for AN screening certification, that's going to be Robert Puente, and there's his phone number for you to contact him. A reminder for all nurses, the Human Sexuality course, it's the Human Sexuality Catechesis, and this is not through our Catholic Schools office. This is through the Office of Evangelization and Catechesis. This comes from the Archbishop and previously put in place by Cardinal DiNardo. I think it was back in like 2015 or 2016 during that time frame. This is not online. This is in person. When I clicked on the little I beside where it says Begin Path on Capernaum, it doesn't give me the English dates or Spanish dates on the offerings that are in person. So I contacted Maris Bridgers, which is here in our office. She's the Director of Faith Formation for all our Catholic schools. And she provided me the screenshot that's above. So it is in person. And when you click on Begin Path, it will show you the dates that are available. But when you click on more information, it won't show them to you until you click Begin Path. There are 2 dates coming up in February and May that the courses are going to be in English. And then we have one that's going to be in Spanish on March 7th. And again, those will be in person. Once you take it once, you don't have to do it again unless there are any updates to the Human Sexuality course. But as of now, there has not been any updates. And again, some nurses have asked, why do I need to take this course? Well, this in regards to the church's teachings is making sure that as students are coming to your clinic, and especially those who are needing support and help on their bodies, on whether it's puberty or you're presenting with puberty presentations or physical growth, you usually are the front line if someone's having any kind of pains or any kind of questions, we want to make sure that we provide them feedback with the language from our church's teachings and making sure that we utilize the proper resources and supports in order to support these children, and also utilizing supporting their parents, as primary educators. Capernaum training, just a reminder that the Catholic School Annual Health and Safety Training, I am now overseeing it. They have received all levels of administrative authorization to see things. And so if your school is doing the Catholic School Annual Health and Safety Training and you currently have overseeing or been delegated to do the rostering each year, please note that I now can help you with that if you need help and support with that. As of now, everybody should have already completed the annual health and safety training. If you have faculty that have not completed it, please send me their first and last name, and I'm able to find their path. I'm able to see if they've completed it. I'm able to see where they stopped. I can see everything on live time. So please let your employees know that I will be reviewing these pieces. There was one employee that had mentioned that they have completed the course, but after looking in there, they had only logged on. None of the videos were played. So please note that I can see things on real time. So let them know that if I see this, I will probably reissue them to go redo the course, but I do now have access to this. So if you have any questions relating to annual health and safety training, that'll be me. If anybody has any questions on catechesis, that's going to be Maris Bridger, not myself. I was waiting until after the nurses meeting to put into the nurses webpage the 2026-2027 health forms. Last year I did it as well. As you can see the picture here that had the 2025-2026 health forms. I'm going to do that the same this year, but it's going to say 2026-2027. Those are going to be the health forms for next year for your new families that are needing to start healthcare plans, anybody that's needing to start any of those pieces. The only one I'm going to refrain from putting on there is going to be the sports physical. For some reason that got a little bit confusing last year and there was a lot of misunderstandings. We had parents filling that out for spring sports instead of pieces to that. So I'm going to refrain from that one for a minute, and this Thursday I'm going to have a meeting with GHCAA. I'm going to make sure they understand as well that we're still utilizing the sports physical for any family that's needing sports for the spring on our 2025-2026 sports physical forms. But I will be putting those health forms in hopefully by today, January 7th. The latest will be by tomorrow morning. So look out for those forms. I will send an email letting everybody know to go look out for them. So reports due, again, we have May 1st, your screening reports. So making sure you send in your vision, hearing, spinal, and AN reports as soon as you can. May 1st, before May 1st would be great. By May 1st, I'd like to hit that submit button. But I always know that there's things that happen. So please be sure to send those to me as soon as you can. We will have our future and final meeting for the 2025-2026 school year on April 15th. That'll be our 4th Archdiocesan meeting. That will be in person. So happy to see everybody that day to finalize our school year. And then lastly, please contact me if you have any questions, if I can support in any way. My direct line is there, 713-391-2630. Many of you have already my cell number, so please contact me in that format, or you're welcome to email me at bgonzalez@archdh.org. Thank you and have a blessed day.